Cats. We love them, they hate us. As a cat owner myself, I know exactly what they like, being dressed up in various costumes. But the designer of Calico, Kevin Russ, would have us believe that they love quilts as well, and that making a quilt for your feline would be a fun thing to do. I was willing to have a nice, pleasant time with cats. Never has there ever been a board game that made me think, you know what? F cats. I'm never making a quilt for those ungrateful again. They can sleep outside from now on like all the other parasitic animals. When you open up Calico, you are immediately presented with a lie. And I don't mean that in the hyperbolic sense. I mean this game is straight up lying to you. At first you're like, oh cool, chunky dual layer player boards. Let's analyze the visual language here. Bright colors, pleasing patterns, gorgeous illustrations by Bev Sobel, tokens for buttons. I mean, have you ever seen anything more relaxed and chill? Of course, the correct answer is yes, any given sloth in a nature documentary. But aside from that, this is the next most relaxed and chill thing in the world. Except it isn't. The objective of Calico is to build a quilt that will please not one, not two, but 3 cats, which is a ridiculous number of cats to please. 1 is already difficult enough. I guess this should have tipped me off about the hardcore nature of this game. Each cat wants a matching set of patterns you'll compose out of hexagonal tiles on your player board. Tibbet is happy if 4 tiles of the same pattern are next to each other, but only if it's one of Tibbet's 2 preferred patterns. Tekalot wants 4 tiles of the same pattern, but in a straight line. And Luna, oh my god, Luna can GTFO, I am not doing that. If you manage to arrange tiles according to the cat's whims, then you will get a token, which is kind of like a badge that says, I'm okay with what you've done here, human. For the next week, I won't hurt you. Also, you score some points. Technically, you don't have to get all 3 types of cat token. You could just keep making lines of 4, earning endless adoration from Tekalot. But that would leave you with 2 very upset cats, and I'm sorry, I'm just not doing that. I value my life too much. Similarly, there's buttons, because if there's one cool thing about quilts, is the seemingly random distribution of completely needless buttons. Anywho, once you create an area of 3 tiles of the same color, you get a button and place it on your quilt. Each button is worth 3 points and is different based on what color spawned it. And if you collect all of them, you'll get a cool special rainbow button, which is objectively the best button and the best color, so obviously you have to do all of that as well. At which point you might ask me, but Efka, how do you get tiles? And how do you place them, Uwu? Well, that part is simple. At the start of the game, you will get 2 tiles. Each time your turn comes along, you can place any one of your 2 tiles anywhere on the quilt. And then, after you placed your tile, you can take a new tile from a choice of 3, which you then immediately refill from the bag. See? Simple. What possible complexity, what sheer devilry could you extract from such a basic, gentle system? Let's do some quilt science. There are exactly 25 spaces on this board to get the coveted rainbow button. 18 of those 25 spaces are spoken for, which does not leave you with a lot of wiggle room. Wiggle, wiggle. Now consider that you also want cat tokens, and that means filling spaces with patterns as well, with each cat token requiring at least 3 and sometimes even 5 spaces on your quilt. The good news here is that you can use the same tile for both buttons and cats, and crucially, the pre-printed tiles on the side of the board also count for both cats and buttons, which rounds this out as a clever yet not insurmountable puzzle. And that's that. Yeah, you wish. Enter design goals. Truly just the most punishing system devised by humans. Right in the center of the board, right where you want the space to play around with patterns and colors, loom 3 blocked spaces, reducing your total allotment from 25 to 22, and also they impose on you more restrictions. And even though those restrictions are not exactly mandatory, much like a human to a cat, you will bend to their will. Let's take a look at an example. This is the AABBCC design goal. If it is on your player board, it either wants you to have 3 pairs of patterns, so something like this could work, or 3 pairs of colors, just like in this example. But if you manage to do the nearly impossible, which is to have both 3 pairs of colors and 3 pairs of patterns on these 6 spaces surrounding this one tile, you will score a bit more points. And there's 3 of these design goals on your player board, taking up 18 of the 22 available spaces. Are you beginning to see the problem? The beauty of Calico is that it doesn't force you to do anything. You could feasibly just lay tiles wherever you like, you'll score 0 points, and you'll end up having a very nice time because you made your own patterns and you had fun. Except nobody wants to score 0 points. We want to score all of the points. If there are points, we want to score them. And I'll let you in on a little secret. It's impossible. Let me drop the pretense. Calico is genius. It's a phenomenal game that manages to achieve the most with some of the simplest rules out there. And despite it being a really challenging puzzle, it still conforms to its aesthetic. It's difficult, but it's the welcoming kind of difficult. So many times I've tried to achieve all 3 design goals, scoring both colors and patterns, and it never happened. Am I bitter? No, I'm not bitter. I just resent things a little bit. At the start of each game, I would sit down, examine my goals, examine my tiles, and then I would start to formulate a plan. Okay, this color, it could go here. And this pattern, that could potentially go here. And let's not forget, I can only ever have a choice of 2 tiles. And after I play one, I must take another one from only a selection of 3. 3 tiles that in all likelihood I want nothing to do with. If I've got a good tile, great, I'll stick it in the middle, and if it's a space where it's surrounding 2 design goals, I have to be very careful about that because it will have to match colors and patterns for both. And if I'm forced to take something that has no business being anywhere on my quilt, I can shove it somewhere in the edges, hopefully pleasing a cat or making a button. As spaces dwindle, the plan solidifies. It takes concrete shape and ultimately will be my downfall, because restriction breeds creativity switches to restriction just breeds more restriction until there's only like 2 spaces left and one wrong move could topple the entire thing. It's beautiful. It's also nonsense because this is nothing. I made nothing here over the course of this discussion. This is not going to score me any points. Keen observers might notice a fatal flaw in Calico's systems. If there's only ever 3 tiles to choose from, and the only circulation is players taking 1 tile a turn, then eventually you'll end up with something that nobody wants. Elsewhere, this would be called bad game design, whereas here, it's not a bug. It's a feature. Calico wants to make you feel uncomfortable. It's the opposite of a cozy quilt. Eventually, you'll just end up having to take tiles you don't want, need, and can I have something else instead, please? This isn't useful. And that's the trick. Calico aggressively shoves you lemons, and your ability to make lemonade is what tests your mettle. What's joyous is that everyone at the table is in the same lemon boat, and sharing the game's frugality brings a sense of unity. Calico taketh so much that when it giveth, you feel elation, even though the person it giveth to is not you. Although you do hate them just a little bit because Calico didn't choose you. And that's what I call a conflicted feeling. For that reason, I am particularly fond of the 2-player less variance variant, where there's only 2 copies of each possible tile in this bag. If you see a tile you absolutely need, the one that will make your plan work, and another player snatches it, I can't describe how crushing that feels. You know there's only one of that tile left in the bag and it might not even come out. So you wait and you anticipate and then you draw and you draw and you draw and then you look at your player board and oh, you've already placed that tile somewhere else. Calico is a rare breed of fun. It's light as a feather, but with the gravity turned upside down. It's a dichotomy of pleasure and crunch, a promise that never manifests, only for you to find out that that promise was there all along. It's just great. This video is sponsored by Skillshare, the online learning community that offers thousands of classes on various subjects. Gardening, cooking, writing, photography, caring for cats, even board game design. Skillshare is your opportunity to become a little bit better at almost anything. So I've been editing with Adobe Premiere Pro for 7 years. Whenever I needed to, I read a tutorial here and there, I learned it on the fly, and I thought I was doing fine. I was, but trust me, taking a structured course in something you might think you know well fills in so many gaps you never even knew you had. I was genuinely astounded by how useful a course like Advanced Video Editing with Adobe Premiere Pro 2020 by Jordi Vanderput was. And now I can do stuff like this. Ooh, spooky. It's not spooky. I've got more great news for you. Skillshare is less than $10 a month with an annual subscription. And the first 1,000 of you to click the link in the description will get a trial of Skillshare Premium. So you can start your creativity today. All of our videos are powered by our Patreon supporters. If you'd like to join this wonderful selection of people, you can find the link in the description and you'll get other perks like my ongoing series on my top 97 games. To roll you out, here's some chill footage of our cat lounging in the garden.